Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, we're going to make a start, but just to let people know, this video is going to be recorded. So if you don't want to be on the recording, you need to turn your screens off now. General rules. We normally have Brendan doing the general rules, but just to be aware that you've got to be respectful to each other, etc., etc. So let's just start off, and I'll share my screen with you, and hopefully, let's have a look. Get rid of all these things. Can you all see the main screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. Right. Artificial intelligence and food safety. Hang on. Right, it's coming in now.
Artificial intelligence, AI. What this means for food safety professionals in terms of education, information, publication, and marketing. We are now going to look at all three of these artificial intelligence programs. The first of this suite is HumanPal by Paul Ponner and his team based in Canada.
Hey, it's Paul Ponner. Listen up. I guarantee you'll be blown away with what I have to share with you today. Watch this video until the end because I'm about to reveal our new and revolutionary human pal technology to the world. Sit tight because this is no ordinary app. Human Pal is the first app in the market with advanced features to create high-budget animation videos featuring real humans and ultra-realistic next-generation human-sounding text-to-speech. There is nothing like this in the market today. The futuristic technologies and features included will leave the competition in the dust. To tell you more about this groundbreaking technology, I will pass it on to some of our digital human pals that are designed to look like a human, talk like a human, and move like a human. Take it away, Arya.
To create a new video in HumanPal, first open the app. You will need to click on the Create Video button. You can then select one of a range of videos from the range shown. Then we need to choose from a range of backgrounds. Next, we need to choose an avatar who can speak for us. After that, we have to choose the language we want the avatar to speak in. Each one has a range of voices to choose from. We then need to add some speech. This can be typed in or taken from another source such as Human Talk. The text will be split up into different screens. You can upload some media, but in this case we'll leave it as green screen. The video will need to be initially rendered. Here is what it looks like once that has been done. You then need to give it a name and tick the approval box. This is what the new video looks like.
You can either key in text or import via cut and paste from other sources, for example using text generated via Human Talk. So basically, HumanPal can create avatars and voices to use on websites. Here is one that Steve produced a couple of months ago using text from the Human Text app. This short clip is on the foodborne parasite Cryptosporidium.
Cryptosporidium is a parasite that can cause illness in humans and animals. It is found in water sources and can be transmitted through ingestion or contact with contaminated water. In the UK, cases of Cryptosporidium have been on the rise in recent years, particularly in areas where water sources may be at increased risk of contamination. Symptoms of Cryptosporidium infection can include diarrhea, stomach cramps, fever, and vomiting. While most healthy individuals can recover from the illness without treatment, those with weakened immune systems may experience more severe symptoms and could require medical attention. In rare cases, it can be fatal.
Very good.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
The next program we're going to look at is Human Talk. This is an interesting program as it uses RE to research an item from a few words. You need to be careful as you either need to know a person, character, or subject well, otherwise it can get things wrong, as these next couple of slides show.
Right. Basically, I asked Human Talk to let me know about some people from Flambeau where I was born. I asked it about myself, about my father, and my mother, who both passed away. And this is the answer I got. So it tells you about Flamborough, it's a picturesque village, etc., etc. And it says Steve Pepper is a well-known figure in Flamborough, recognised for his tireless efforts in promoting local tourism. Well, that's a load of rubbish anyway. And improving or preserving the area's natural beauty. I've also, let's have a look, looked for Flamborough's stunning coastline and historic landmarks, drove them to establish guided tours. Well, that's a load of rubbish as well, highlighting the village's rich heritage. Then my dad was fondly known as Art Pepper, and he was a local artist. Well, actually, he was a painter, but he was a village job man, and he was a painter and decorator, not an art painter. And he didn't ever do any landscapes or seascapes that I'm aware of, although he was in the Auxiliary Coast Guard. Let's have a look. And he wasn't an active member of the local art community, because there wasn't one. And then it goes on to say about my mum. And basically, she's worked tirelessly to enhance residents as a coordinator of community projects. And basically, this lot was a load of rubbish. So I only know this because it was my life. So if you type in something on Human Talk, you better know the person, the subject, etc. Otherwise, it'll just come back with a load of rubbish.
That was a load of rubbish. The cryptosporidium text used in the last video was double-checked by Steve, as he is a fully qualified food safety trainer. Fortunately, most of the information was correct, needing only a little editing before using it in the Human Pal program.
So now we're going to move on to this Human Talk program. And basically, that's a picture of Paul Ponner, and there are loads of online videos of training, help, and whatever. This one, first of all, you need to select the voice or the avatar that you're going to work with. And you've seen examples of that in the first part of the presentation. You need to choose your scripts, either from scratch and type it in yourself, or from the text writer app, part of the app. Or you can choose one of these ready-made scripts. And that's one, you can type in and put your name in and all the rest of it. Then you need to select the voice. And basically, listen to the lead. You agree to the terms and conditions, and then you can save this file. To access the text writer part of the app and generate text, go to the text writer prompt and log in. So you need to put your email address and your password for that. Then you go to the content prompt lab, and then you need to type in, what should I write about? In this case, I put write about cryptosporidium. So then it goes through to the next bit, and you end up with a whole text, probably about 800 words in there, something like that, on cryptosporidium. Now, obviously, it's a Canadian-American program, so the first thing you're going to do is correct the actual text into English, into British English. But then you need to double check what you put in there. Is it accurate enough? And if it is, then leave it. If it needs bits adding, you need to add that as well. 512 words on that one. But basically, that, as far as I'm aware, unless someone tells me different, is accurate. And then what you can do is summarize it and then save it as text to the clipboard. Yeah? And then when you've got there, the program can also help you write a book. So let's have a look at the book that I've done. I've said food safety, parasitology, public health, disease prevention, food businesses and environmental health, and it's based in the UK. And that then continues writing on aspects of food safety, and then you can check it through later, and that's part of the book that we've written. There you go. You can copy the text to the clipboard and save it as text. And what I've done is this is a Mac program, and I've saved it. I've copied it to Pages rather than Word. The next part of the program, or the next program, is something called HumanBot. So that's the third in the 3 series of programs. Now, there are other artificial programs out there. I think there's ChapAct and a few others, but there's absolutely loads of stuff coming out these days. So the first thing you do is you go to the HumanBot homepage and click the Create Campaign button. So they will show you all the campaigns you've created. The main difference between this and the other programs is that you can actually have full-size avatars, and you can also use them in different ways, i.e. you can have an interactive page on your website. And there are 4 there of types of chat that you can create. It can either be a live chat, an avatar only, an AI smart chat, or a green screen video. So the first thing you do is select the avatar you want to use. And in this case, we've chosen Nathan. Then you type on the next button, on the next tab. And then what you need to do is choose the language that you want to use and the person's voice you want to use. So we've chosen UK English rather than the US English, and we'll change the name. So we've got the English British or the English United Kingdom one, and then we've selected Ryan because Ryan's voice has got 3 options on it, whereas the others are just a plain chat. And his voice is one with a range of emotions: general, cheerful, or chat. And we've chosen the chat one. Now, this is what we can produce to save up to a website, and the first port of call to a potential client on your website. The style is actually fully customizable, and you can choose from a range of options. You can then create a chat dialogue, or either from scratch, or you can select one from a list of pre-done ones. So there you go. You've got, oh, God knows how many different options. Like there's, I haven't got my glasses on, wait a minute, an AI smart chat, and various other ones. And these are sample conversations. And then what we've done is we've chosen auditing services on page 3 of that selection. And what it does is it creates for you a table of text that it will speak. And then when there's a choice, you'll say, well, yes or no. And then below that, there are other choices beyond there. Now, I can show you a practical demonstration of this in a minute. You can have it displayed in various ways. And you then need to create that wizard. I'm selecting the various options. Then you create that campaign. So we've saved it as SPTA, and we can create the campaign. Now, the first time I did this, the audio didn't come through. So I've actually changed the avatar to a different version of Nathan with a white coat on. So here we are. Let's just see what this is.
Hey, looks like you are from the United Kingdom. We have a lot of customers from your area. What is your name? Hello, Steve. How can I help you today?
And these are bits I've typed in the bottom of the screen.
These audits are conducted by independent or government-approved auditors to assess the quality and safety of food handling, storage, and preparation practices. During a food safety audit, auditors typically review various aspects such as 1. Food storage and handling. Auditors check if proper procedures are followed for receiving, storing, and handling food to prevent contamination and ensure proper temperature control. 2. Sanitation and cleanliness. Auditors assess the cleanliness and hygiene practices in food preparation areas, including the use of cleaning agents, hand washing facilities, and pest control measures. 3. Food traceability. Auditors verify if there are systems in place to track and trace food ingredients, including their origin and any potential allergens. 4. Employee training. Auditors check if employees have received adequate training on food safety practices and if records of training are maintained. 5. Equipment and facility maintenance. Auditors inspect equipment, utensils, and facilities to ensure they are in good working condition and properly maintained to prevent food contamination. 6. Documentation and record keeping. Auditors review documentation and records related to food safety practices, including temperature logs, cleaning schedules, and supplier certifications. The purpose of food safety audits is to identify any non-compliance issues and provide recommendations for improvement. These audits help ensure the safety and quality of food products, protect consumer health, and maintain compliance with regulatory requirements. Temperature control auditing is an essential aspect of food safety audits. It involves assessing if proper temperature control measures are implemented throughout the food handling process to prevent the growth of harmful bacteria and ensure the safety of food products. Here are some key points related to temperature control auditing. 1. Storage temperatures. Auditors check if refrigeration units and freezers are set at appropriate temperatures to maintain the freshness and safety of perishable foods. They also examine if temperature monitoring devices are in place and regularly calibrated. 2. Cooking temperatures. Auditors evaluate if cooking processes, such as grilling, baking, or frying, are conducted at the right temperatures to ensure that food is thoroughly cooked and reaches the necessary internal temperature to kill bacteria. 3. Hot and cold holding. Auditors verify if hot food is kept at the correct temperature, usually above 140 degrees Fahrenheit or 60 degrees Celsius, and if cold food is maintained below 41 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 degrees Celsius to prevent bacterial growth. 4. Transport and delivery. If applicable, auditors assess if there are appropriate temperature controls in place during food transportation and delivery to ensure that perishable items are kept at safe temperatures. 5. Temperature monitoring records. Auditors review temperature logs and records to ensure that regular temperature checks are performed, documented accurately, and maintained for a specified period. 6. Corrective actions. Auditors check if corrective actions are taken promptly when temperature deviations occur, such as adjusting equipment settings, disposing of unsafe food, or retraining staff. By conducting temperature control audits, businesses can identify any gaps or deficiencies in their temperature control practices, take necessary corrective actions, and maintain the safety and quality of their food products. As an AI language model, I'm unable to physically perform audits or conduct inspections. I can provide information and guidance on food safety auditing processes, requirements, and best practices. If you have specific questions or need assistance with any aspect of food safety audits, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to help you. You're welcome. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, feel free to ask. Good luck with your food.
Right, now, I don't know if anyone's noticed what was wrong with that from a UK's perspective.
Hot holding temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60 degrees. It should be 63 for hot holding and 75 for cooking.
Where do you think you got this information from? It's obviously on the web somewhere. So
Yeah.
America.
Yeah, probably America or Canada or somewhere like that. Now, if I'd have put in a specification that I wanted it to do that chat based on UK regulation, then the temperatures would have been different. So that's what I'm saying. You need to know. Most of the rest of that was okay, but you need to know your subject well enough that if you're going to use this sort of information, you've got to double check it. So you know, the other thing is that on this particular one, it recognised that was from the UK. But if I'd have rung from, say, Romania or Japan, it would have spoken in Japanese or Romanian, and the text would have been in that language as well. So, you know, it's a truly international thing. But you can use these in many different ways. having said that, the other thing is that if anyone likes the look of these programs, I'm not signed up at the moment, but if you come through me and email me at mail@steve-pepper.co.uk, I can actually get a commission for you on that. So I can get the commission, but if you go direct to Paul Planner, I don't get the commission. So let's have a look here. Any questions? Do you find that useful?
There was a question, I think, in the chat, Steve, from Victoria. She made a very good point saying, do these systems ever give references? And I think this is about understanding what AI actually does, because it's not like Googling for an article. It actually constructs the text out of millions of little bits and pieces. So there's no reference system at all, because it's not doing quotes like a Google search would be. That's what's disturbing, perturbing, but interesting all at the same time. It is actually creating something fresh from loads of resources, none of which get referenced in the content.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest problem for me. I've got two thoughts on this. One is I like to keep up to date with what's happening in the world, either food safety or computing or whatever. And you know, although I've now been retired for 2 years, I still keep it handy. And so one of the things is it's very useful to be able to use this sort of stuff. But it's a bit like, have you seen the online campaign about keep cash worldwide? Because there is a danger that if we lose the use of cash, then like most of the banks want us to go electronically, then where does it leave us, the average person on the street? And it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that on a leaflet down at my gym, and I brought it home and I showed my parents. My dad was like, "Oh, don't be silly! It's just a conspiracy theory." Blah blah blah. But yeah, it's a real thing, isn't it?
It isn't. I mean, the thing is, the number of banks that are closing branches these days is on the rise, and
That's
the
true.
number of places, businesses that will only accept card payments has grown. I mean, I use both, and I've got local Chinese that will only accept cash, and I respect that. And I will still pay by card if I'm going out for a meal or whatever. But the problem is having that awareness. And the thing is, with artificial intelligence, the same thing is, if we lose control on artificial intelligence, where will that leave people in the future? I mean, for now, we're okay. It's a bit of a novelty. But in the future...
Have you watched The Matrix? Have you watched any of the Matrix films?
Oh, yes. And the Terminator as well. Similar sort of things.
Yes.
For people who want it to be used for good, that's fine. But out of the world's billions of population, how many people might want to use that in a bad way? You know, if you look at what's happening in Russia, Poland, and Ukraine, for example, what happens if someone like Putin got in control of the international currency or whatever? It'd be a curse for the rest of us. And that's the bit that I worry about. Having said that, I just want to, I don't know if you can see this on full screen, but this is what's happening on pest control. Can you still see that? This was last month's issue, and that's the article on rat control and artificial intelligence. So it's happening in all sectors of industry now, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, so that future food businesses, chefs, food business owners, consultants, and people from the regulatory authority understand what's happening out there. Because without that knowledge, we're going to be left behind in the Stone Age. Right, that's all I've got for this part. David, do you want to chip in? We've done half an hour, so
yeah,
chip in with your
I'm going to try and do a lightning tour of my very tentative use of AI, but for a particular purpose. And I'm not going to advocate for or against anything. I'm just going to say, well, this is what I used today, actually. So I just need to be able to share my screen. It says my screen is disabled at the moment, Steve. So are you able?
I can soon do that. Wait a minute. Okay, can you do that now?
Looks like I can.
There you go.
AC. Always
Yeah,
worry.
we can see your screen. We're
Oh,
fine.
fabulous, 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 fabulous. I always trepidatious when this happens. Oh, right. Okay. So I need to look more, as I mentioned at the beginning of today's session, into neurodiversity. So I've just thrown some stuff together, which is my journey over the next few months into addressing this really, really well. So I just started off today to think about it for the purposes of this forum. So I have, Victoria, your comment about referencing was interesting. I've referenced at the top the AI program. It's not a program really, a website that I'm using. So at least I can say this is where I got it from. And it's nearly all deepai.org. So I'm not going to, this is not a presentation I'm going to read through. I'm just showing you what I got. So I asked for types of neurodiversity and I got this, which is instantly useful because it doesn't just focus on dyslexia. It puts a number of different disorders or conditions up there. Far too much to deal with on an evening forum. But at least that's my working, that took me 3 seconds to find. I got a full slide in 3 seconds. And I didn't think without more research that I needed to change any of that. So that was useful. And then I asked for neurodiversity in training. And I read through that again and I thought, yep, that's okay. That's what I'm thinking about doing. That was another 3 seconds. So then I looked at ADHD because ADHD.
This is impressive.
I looked at ADHD because ADHD is a condition that I've had people declare on several courses this year. So I looked at that and that's what I got from AI. Again, no need to change anything. And I know I'm going through it really quickly because if anybody wants this, you'll see this on the video when you watch it, but I'm just trying to show you the development here. And then I checked out on dyslexia, which I knew a bit more about, and I read that and I thought, yeah, that sounds okay. Right. So I've got my substance for probably a 1 hour, 2 hour session in about 25 seconds. So then I looked at all the things I put at the top here are the words I searched for. So I looked at PowerPoint for dyslexia and I got this. And it reminded me that there are dyslexia-friendly fonts now, and there's one in PowerPoint called Open Dyslexic. So I thought, oh, I've got something really more tangible here. So I used that font next. And then I reminded myself that, for example, suggestions for people who declare dyslexia, you should use graphics quite a lot, really. You should do, and keep the text trimmed down. So this came from that previous slide, but I've just trimmed out all the extraneous words. So I've got, this is a dyslexic-friendly font. PowerPoint can benefit individuals with dyslexia. Now, I'm not sure I've matched the graphics to the text exactly. That's my next development. That's my next.
There's a typo there. Yeah. Dyslexia is passes instead of past.
Say again, please.
You know, in the bottom left box.
Oh, yes, I know. Yeah, seen that. Yeah, I saw that.
Typo.
I can't edit that because it's a graphic borrowed from somewhere. So, you know, you need to pick up the faults as you go along. And then I got this one, and I'm just playing with this now. I'm just playing with it. This is not the content in my eventual presentation. I'll be fine-tuning it. As Steve says, I'll be reading and researching everything. But I'm now sort of about 10 to 15 minutes into creating this today, starting at 2 o'clock today. I'm just showing you what I created in about 15 minutes. So that's as far as I've got with that, just to show you that the one thing it's done for me is it's quickly grabbed stuff for me and put them somewhere where I can play with them. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't have got that from Google, but I know what I'm like with Google. I'd have gone all around the houses, whereas this has made me start somewhere. So I think it's at least worth exploring. Then the next thing I did, I asked it a specific question. I'm doing a training program this week for meat products delivery drivers. So I asked it about food safety training for meat delivery drivers. And this is the exact quote I got from the same program, apart from the fact I changed the word delivery truck to delivery vehicle. And I'm going to let you read that because most of you know a bit about food safety. And I'll read it out to you. I don't always do this with PowerPoint, but I will here because we've got time. As a meat delivery driver, my role is to transport meat products from the supplier to various retail or wholesale locations. I am responsible for ensuring timely and safe delivery of these products, as well as maintaining the quality of the meats during transportation. I must also adhere to food safety regulations and maintain a clean and organised delivery vehicle. Communication with customers and colleagues regarding delivery schedules or changes is an important part of the job. Being knowledgeable about different types of meats and their storage requirements is also essential to do my job competently. Now, I have to say that knocked my socks off, because if I ever was that clever to come up with a 4-phrase justification for the training program I'm going to design, it would have taken me about half an hour. And that came up within 3 seconds. I just think what Steve has said is quite right. You have to think very carefully about what you ask. And that's a food safety training for meat delivery drivers. I hit the spot, and I'm using that in developing the program this week. But I wouldn't want to, I'm doing this fairly quickly because we can always communicate another time about it. And then I decided to have a bit of fun. So AI has written a poem called Great Food Safety Trainers. I thought I'd be arrogant and say, I'd like to be a great food safety trainer. So I've just written this poem. Sorry, I have not written this poem. I asked AI poet to write a poem called Great Food Safety Trainers, and I haven't changed anything on here. In the kitchen where the plates stay clatter, tasting morsels that are sure to matter, are the trainers teaching the art of food safety, guiding chefs to keep things fresh and tasty. They fear no salmonella or E. coli, for they've trained chefs who've flown high, creating dishes without fear or worry, thanks to the trainers who've made it merry. From hand washing to cross-contamination, they teach it all with utter dedication, for they know how important is this profession to protect the health of all who love ingestion. So let's raise a glass to these great food safety trainers who keep us safe from all the foodborne dangers. May their knowledge and passion never falter, for their work is truly priceless and never alters. I rest my case. It's really, really interesting. And that has occupied about maybe 30 minutes of my time today to generate that. Yeah, I would spend hours to perfect it for my next training course. But I could see where I was going within 30 minutes, that I had something tangible. And I think otherwise I'd keep putting it off and doing a bit more Googling. So that's my personal experience of AI. At the other end from yours, Steve, I've just come on it to just use a little bit, and then I've used my trainer skill to develop it. And I just think it's a fascinating world, and that's really what I wanted to chip in and then open for discussion as usual.
Right. Well, I used to be a project manager in a food training, not food training, but in a training organisation called Rathbone. And basically, my basic skills teacher, they used to teach dyslexic kids. And besides the font that you mentioned, the other thing that helps is that if you have a block of text like that, then all you see is the rivers of white going down. So when I'm doing a project, I always put into short paragraphs with a block of white line between each one. So that makes it easier to read. You can follow your eye a lot easier. And also, if you use certain colours, it helps them read it. So in my class, we used to have sheets of acetate that were either blue, green, or yellow. And when people put that over a sheet of text, say like that would make it a lot clearer for people to read. So that's all good stuff, is that?
Well, I'm going to say there's an awful lot to this neurodiversity. That's a separate subject for me. Today it was using AI to get somewhere. I've now found out from neurodiversity that all the things that you've got to take account of, not just dyslexia, but others, make me realize there's a way to rework my training so that everyone gets a much more diverse approach to the training. So I'm turning it all on its head, and rather than go down one road of say, if I use a dyslexia friendly font, I've sorted the problem, I'm just saying that's just the start of it, just the start of it. And I think it's going to be a fascinating few months when I develop things further. I'm happy to do a forum down the line about those specific neurodiverse issues. Tonight it was for what did AI do? And it prompted me to think about it in a way that I perhaps haven't thought about it before. That's me.
Okay.
Happy to listen and contribute.
Brendan on tonight.
Don't look at those.
No, okay. Right. Well, I'll continue with this bit. As I said in my email to everyone, I've now got a, not program, but what I would call an artificial intelligence assistant. And you might well, I don't know if you can see that, but that's the program on the right is the one I've got on my iPad, Alexa. And I've also got various programs on there. But basically, you can get this sort of thing on Alexa, and it will ask you, you can use your software to promote Alexa, sorry. Now let me just show you. Can you all see that? Is it on full screen? Is it on full screen for you all?
Yes, there's a caravan.
Yeah, there's a bit.
I can see a caravan.
It's not on full screen though, Steve. You're only in picture, that's all.
Right. Wait a minute. If you go to the top right of your screens, you can see where the speaker will be. And I'm just going to... Right, there you go. So what you can do, this is Alexa Echo Dot.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah. What you can do is you can use Alexa for all sorts of working things. And you can ask it the time. Alexa, set a timer for 10 seconds. No, she's ignoring me. Alexa, set a timer for 10 seconds.
10 seconds, starting now.
In a minute, she'll come up with a sound or something. So that's my alarm. So if I'm cooking something in the kitchen, I can just shout at the top of my voice, set me a timer in there. So, Alexa, stop. So what you can do, though, you can use this for any industry. So I can use it for ukuleles, my hobbies, my work life, or anything. But what you can do is also use this to do food safety. But you need to know your subject well. Alexa, play me a food safety video by Steve Pepper on YouTube.
Searching YouTube.
Tonight by David Newsom, who was all the way down in, was it sunny London today, or was it more foggy?
It was clear, but not sunny.
Oh, all right, that's fair enough then. Alexa, so what have you been doing down there today, then? So that was a video we did about 4 or 5 years ago. Alexa, tell me what you know about norovirus.
According to Mayo Clinic, norovirus infection is an illness that causes sudden and severe vomiting and diarrhea. Noroviruses are highly contagious. They spread through contaminated food and water and contaminated surfaces. They can also spread through close contact with an infected person. Most people who get norovirus infection improve without treatment. But in some people it can cause severe dehydration. Norovirus infection most often occurs in crowded places like hospitals, schools, and cruise ships.
Alexa, tell me what you know about Knowledge Hub and food safety.
From ifs.org. This Knowledge Hub is a one-stop shop for resources needed to introduce learners to all aspects of food safety across the industry throughout their careers.
Yep.
If you'd like another answer, just say next.
Next. Alexa. Next. Alexa. Alexa. Next.
Now.org. The Knowledge Hub hosts up-to-date information about school food nutrition guidelines and standards, NGS, and food and nutrition education programs, policies and legislation around the world, and aims to expand its scope in the near future.
Alexa, tell me what you know about Toxoplasma gondii.
Franksu.edu. Toxoplasma gondii is a eukaryotic protozoan parasite that infects warm-blooded animals, mostly including humans, and causes the disease toxoplasmosis. If you'd like another answer, just say next.
Next. Change my view on here. Speaker. No, for some reason. Am I coming through on full screen on this?
Yeah.
All right.
You can see your face and the tablet.
Yeah. Can you read what it says on the screen?
Not really. No. A bit.
I'll just try and widen it a bit. It's just.
I wonder if we can get other people to suggest, Steve, if they've had any dealings with AI, whether they know about it or not. Especially if we've got anybody. Have we got anybody working in local authorities where, or is Mr. Sprenger still online? I'm sure if he's still online, he'll be thinking about AI within his business. Be good to hear what people here it is being used for.
Okay. David, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting, because it raises a couple of questions as well. We're looking at it for all sorts of things, but for example, recently we were looking at it for translation purposes, translating books. Now, the interesting thing is that I was surprised how expensive it was, because although it's quick, the cost was almost identical to going to a professional translator. The professional translator would have taken, longer to do it, maybe a week, whereas AI could do it probably the same day. So I was very surprised, because I thought it would be considerably cheaper. And I was going to ask about the cost of the things that the two of you have been doing, what the costs are, because I know there's two different ways of doing it. One is there's a sort of a free version, and then there's a pay version that you go on. So I think cost, I just wondered what your thoughts are about cost.
David, do you want to go first? It's not there. Right. Well, basically, the three programs that you've seen.
You're on mute, David.
Yeah.
The
three programs you've seen on me use on here tonight by Paul Potter are about £500 or £600 for all three. So they're around about 200 quid each. Although they occasionally have reductions in price, and it's for a lifetime, or you can pay monthly. Well, I bought lifetime. I spent 400 or 500, 600 quid, and I got access to these for a lifetime. Although I don't need them for my work, because I don't work anymore. All I do now is for free. But yeah, it's very, very cost effective for a business. The only problem is that you need someone who's also a native speaker to check it for accuracy, because sometimes these things can go wildly wrong. And if you're doing this on a professional basis, like high field training, then you need to make sure that it's right.
Yeah, that is a problem. There are a couple of other problems. Obviously, they've got to sort out their copyright issues. As you said, there's so many bits are taken from so many sources, but I know there is talk within the background about how they're going to deal with copyright. That is one thing. And the other thing is the problem that if you take different approaches, you might find something on one website that might be an official government website that other people would believe is wrong. And not very commonly wrong on government websites, but you can occasionally go on such things. Everybody's saying, well, the World Health Organization is the be all and end all. So you'd think that it would use the World Health Organization, but sometimes that information may not be misleading, but it can be inaccurate or even out of date because it depends who in the World Health Organization has put it together.
Mm.
So that's why I agree entirely. If you've got to still have the person who's got the expertise to look at it. Another example.
Unfortunately, I've managed my CPD, so I've been through the cryptosporidium video, and there was very little that really needed changing. It was, as far as I could see, it was all accurate. But you need to pay the person who's writing that in English first. So maybe someone at Highfield who's done the book or the question paper. But you also need someone who's a native speaker in Polish or Czech or whatever to be able to check that what you've written in English has been translated accurately. Because in English, obviously, I mean, I used to have this as a problem when I was a food safety trainer with Highfield. I would quite often have a problem. I mean, I had one customer over in York, and she employed quite a lot of foreign staff. And I said, look, what you need is a paper based on their language. And sometimes I could get them, sometimes I couldn't. But the owner of the restaurant said, no, they've got to be able to do it in English. I said, no. I said, English spoken is different to English written. You know, there's a lot more subtleties in how you write something than how you speak it. And a lot of people, when I've had to not been able to find a speaker or a language paper on food safety or whatever, then I've had to sit down and ask them the question and then go through the 4 possible answers on a multiple choice paper. And they've had to make the decision themselves. But when I did this, I found rather than getting maybe 30-40% right, I was getting a much higher percentage right and getting a much higher pass rate by acting as a reader for them. Because the spoken English they couldn't understand. The written English usually was crap. If that makes sense.
I'll just chip in the bit that I didn't realise I was on mute for, which is being a Yorkshireman, I don't pay for anything. So what I used was free, and it was instant. And I used it for the purpose I showed you, which is as soon as that AI content disappears, I'll be effectively rewriting it. I just didn't have much to rewrite, and I was quite intrigued by that. It might be the nature of the subject that I was looking into. And I think why I'm contributing to this forum, like I do most times, is I just think you're better knowing about it than not. That doesn't mean to say I'm advocating it, but I did find a real use for it this week. And I thought that was a good time to share it with other people.
I mean,
you're absolutely astute in all the traps and tricks, but you know, we had those with Google. And to be quite honest, when we started using PowerPoint a long time ago, we were wary of it even then, weren't we, about how to use it and so on. So I suppose it's just one more thing that we just got to understand and then be wary of.
I mean, I remember reading the news with AI. So this AI thing wasn't out when I was doing my degree, but I can't remember what the subject was. But this guy, he typed in a sentence into OpenAI, and he got a paper back, and he got a 2-2 for it. He didn't do any of the work himself. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've used the text write app on Human Talk is I've actually managed. Because if you get so above about 800 words, it goes around in circles. So what I've done is I've been able to get Human Talk on the book one, writing about the different aspects of fire safety in a nursing home or a hospital basis. And so far, I've been surprised at how accurate the chapters have been. I mean, I've not had time to put it to bed. But what I want to do is, because I don't need to earn a living anymore, I'm quite comfortable on the pensions, I guess, that what I want to do with it is eventually publish it and sell it at a very cheap price for a donation to something like either the lifeboat or the Yorkshire Ambulance or some charity like that, because I will get a good gut feeling on that. Whereas it's not much point me trying to do it commercially anymore. I don't need the money.
Well, Richard, we should look forward to you producing thousands of training programs now, and them all being half price.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's got significant cost implications. Certainly, it can do the job so much quickly, as you said, and even for experts like yourself on particular subjects, it can save you hours. Yeah. And therefore, yes, it will bring prices down. My comments weren't in any way to say we shouldn't use it. It's improving all the time. What I'm saying is, like I think both of you have said, you've just got to be aware it can go wrong, and you need to check it. And I think that's important. I mean, even if you say in English, say you wanted it to write something, and I remember once we had something translated and it came back and it was done by a professor in the particular language, and it was intended for food handlers with second language English, and it came back written like the Times, and the argument was, well, that's the best English you can get. And yeah, it was the best English you could get, but very few people could understand it. And so, again, the beauty about AI is you could actually say the reading level, I suspect, of what the people who are reading it, whatever language, and that is a big thing that sometimes a lot of the translation houses, they don't go for a person who's an expert in the subject necessarily. They go for a professor who doesn't even know how to pronounce some of the words. But he knows Queen's English or whatever language it is. So I think AI has got tremendous potential. And I think the main thing is if somebody wants a really good job, and Steve, you're keeping your eye on the ball, it's changing weekly. And in a month's time, there could be something that comes out that is so much better than what's on the marketplace at the moment. And then a week later, things are changing so quickly. And you need somebody to alert us all about the best programs. You know, people have got ideas at the moment of what the best programs are, but as I've said, in a month's time, there may be different ones.
Well, I'm aware that Paul Pollan's programs are okay. I mean, it was a good hobby price for me, and it did the job that I wanted it to do. I'm sure that in the future that you will get better. For example, you might be able to create a photograph of me speaking in my voice with a fairly realistic. Whereas, I mean, it's obvious that these are avatars, but you know, they're speaking in lip sync and whatever. But in 5 years' time, it's going to be much better than that because things move on. You know, and it's just a case of keeping up to speed with what's happening. But I reckon,
I'm going to do this week. I know Richard will like this. I can get a wry smile on his face. I'm going to ask AI about dishwasher rinse temperatures.
While you're doing that, getting it ready, circulated this week, I saw somebody who has been dead for about 60 years, 50 years, who they did him with, and I'm pretty sure it was his voice, and it looked like him. Some people wouldn't appreciate the subject, but it was certainly very well done. So, Steve, it already exists for some AI. Somebody, I can assure you, could already have you speaking in your voice. It can be done now because I've seen it with a famous politician who, as I said, died about 50 years ago.
Did you see the bit on the news with those two individuals, and they had electrodes attached to their head and they couldn't speak, they were dumb, and they had like this each had like a TV in front of them, and they think these words and then they'd be talked by an AI. It's just incredible. They had a conversation with each other despite being completely dumb and not being able to speak, just thinking it. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Looks like we can go into posterity and live forever then.
Yeah,
that's a good note to pour them on.
Can I just add, in the Food Teachers Centre, we've had one of our ambassadors who has been using ChatGPT, and she asked ChatGPT, what food investigations can you carry out to investigate the functional and chemical properties of ingredients and methods when making, and then the product. I can't say the product because it's the current GCSE. And it came up with 13 investigations that we could recommend to teachers for their students to do for this current GCSE.
And were they valid in your
Yes.
Yeah, they were valid. Yeah. Yeah.
And so she went through all 3 exam boards, looked at the NEA ones that they published on September the 1st, and did exactly the same. So that everyone, we had a list of investigations. So it saved us, like you say, David, trawling through Google and looking for resources for teachers that we would recommend rather than them giving their students a free hand. So it was quite interesting.
The advantage of the one I use is you don't have to register with them. It's an online one. No, you don't have to register. You don't have to worry that someone's going to be copying what you're doing. So you can just go in there anytime and throw a few words in, and you'll be amazed. I mean, I wrote 3 food safety poems for my butcher in London, and they're a level 4 course, and they got it was with Highfield, and they got merits. Richard, thank you so much. And they were completely blown away by the emotional impact of me writing poems about what a wonderful company they were trying to be. That's got to be worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd let you know, Richard, I'm working for you.
Excellent. You were going to put something on about a dishwasher.
Yeah, dishwasher temperature. We all throw 82 in there without thinking. I cannot find any references to validate that. And it's on the Knowledge Hub already. Me and Kevin Gosling, I think, are saying, come on, guys, where are we getting that from? Where are we getting it from? We know how to test it, but we're all going around saying, put a little tab in. If it's 82, it's okay. I'm not convinced now that I know where to get
I've checked a few catering outlets on food safety, and I've done the dishwash temperature tab. You put it on a plate and put it in the dishwash, and I've not found one.
I'm looking to Richard out. I'm going to look in his book shortly.
Well, now I'm just thinking that I would say, I mean, it's something we take for granted, 82 to 88 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the same temperature that you're going to put in, for example, for a knife sterilizer in the slaughterhouse, which is 82.
Well, I'm trying to find why is it 82?
Well, I mean, it's obviously time temperature. The difference is your sterilizer. I can't remember what it is in the slaughterhouse. I think it's 82 for 15 seconds or something like that from memory for sterilizing your knife. If it's got any, obviously you've cut into an abscess or something and you need to sterilize it. And so it's 82. It's not just a sterilizing temperature, it's a drying temperature as well. So that basically, obviously, so I'm presuming that's come from the manufacturers, not just for a food safety point of view, but from a drying point of view within a certain time as well. So
that's this week's research.
I remember a few Hobart washing machines, 5 dishwashers, and they always had a gauge on the rinse temperature, and it was always a fresh feed to the rinse. It wasn't used like in the wash, and they were always between 80 and 88. Oh, sorry, 82 and 88, and that's been around for a long time. I remember that back in 1970 when I first started in catering, a long time.
Yeah.
Can't draw the FSA into it at all. They're not commenting.
Well, I think the more interesting one for everybody to think about is where does the 63 degrees centigrade for hot holding come? Because we're the only country in the world, as far as I know, unless they've actually used our legislation originally, that goes for 63. Everybody goes for 60, apart from the States, who goes for 57.
Yeah.
So, and I can tell you the science about that, certainly. And I can tell you where the temperature comes from in most cases, like 8 degrees for England, and it was political.
Yes, I know.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, because basically legislation is political. You take the science and then you get all the different political pressures, and at the end of the day, the legislation pops up with some particular figure that hopefully tries to satisfy everybody.
I remember 1990 and then 1995 and 5 years of political discussion about how much the food industry could afford to replace all their fridges on it.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I have to go shortly personally. Been lovely seeing you all, and thanks for letting me and Steve throw some challenging stuff at you this evening.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I hope you've all enjoyed it tonight. I'm going to turn the video off now, so we'll all say goodbye.
Yeah.
But for anyone who wants to hang on and have a conversation, I'm quite happy to stay here for a while. So, good night.